Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wicked Art. It's Wicked here, and I am just practicing my coloring today for my graphic novel. So I am using a piece drawn by Humberto Ramos. He is one of my, if not the favorite comic book artists of all time, Spider-Man and X-Men especially. And he also did a little series with called Fairy Quest. Was really good, so you can go check those out. But if you pause the video at the very beginning, you could probably take a screenshot and just follow along from there. So what I'm doing right now is trying to better my own graphic novel work by just focusing on coloring. So I didn't want to spend any time drawing anything, so I just kind of inked it in real quick and then decided to go in and color and practice like different things that I could do. So I'm basically recreating. You could actually look up the actual X-Men cover from Marauders that he did the drawing, but somebody else colored it. I can't think of the name, but I've colored it completely different. I'm just practicing how I would do it. So I'm just going in and putting in the basic base colors right now, picking things that are going to be contrasting and stuff like that. I kept most of the stuff true to the characters as far as the base colors go. So like Cable here in the front, with his weapons, it was a lot of metallics, um, grays and stuff like that. But I just really love the overall design that Ramos does. So if you're a fan of his work or you've never heard of him, go look him up and really check him out. He does a tremendous job of drawing. Someone I aspire to be like and draw like one day. But sometimes you just can't meet those master's goals unless you just keep practicing. So something that I struggle with is, like I said, coloring in comics and working on my graphic novel. I'm always beating my own work up and not thinking it looks good enough. So I'm always kind of changing things to see what I can do to get better, what would look better to the audience. So again, I'm just going through right now and putting in all of the base colors. Okay, now you might see that little kind of like Captain America symbol on his shoulder. I promise you, it's Cable. It's not Captain America. So yeah, and Cable is known as an older gentleman. He's from the future, so he's got that gray hair tone. And then you have Iceman, Mystique, Sabretooth, and Cannonball in the very back. And the reason why I wanted to do this too is because Iceman and Cannonball both have unique powers, and then the way you would want to draw them and color them. So like Iceman being ice, I wouldn't want to have black lines. I mean, I could do that, but I wouldn't want to have black lines all on the outline. And Cannonball, when he's exploding and flying through the air, he's just engulfed in flames, so there's not a whole lot of like skin tone and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of practice glows and fire and stuff like that. So what I'm doing now is just filling in Sabretooth's base colors. Again, he's just wearing a heavy leather coat. The character's changed a lot from what maybe some of you remember. Um, but he did, join the X-Men for a short time. He's always kind of back and forth, kind of an anti-hero. So now I'm just taking just kind of a brown color and coloring in the smoke from whatever destruction is being shown in the image that they're just kind of appearing out of. And I'm made a separate layer and just called it color. I selected all of the lines on the line layer and then went back down to that color layer and just made a mask. That way I could stay inside. Now everything that's inside the middle area, you're not really going to be able to not make the mistake of going over. But what I could have done is like I could fill these areas in and make separate layers and shade and all that other stuff. But I kind of work a little bit differently. I don't mind being a little messy. But you can see what I'm doing right now is I highlighted the line layer again and just went inside of it on Iceman, and I painted over it blue with like a kind of a dark blue, so that way his outline has more of a ice look to it instead of everybody else with the color. And then what I'm doing now with Cannonball is kind of having that smoky brown there towards the end of his trail, and then filling in the rest of the image like fire. So the hotter it is in the center closer to him, it would be yellow or a white. And then as we expand out, you can see I add the orange and the red Okay, and then again, I highlighted those areas and I was trying to decide on a color to go with, so I kind of went with like a golden brown kind of thing. Overall, at the end, not real thrilled. I would have probably picked a different color, but it's trial and error. It's all just practice. So now what I did was I created a new layer above the color layer and called it shadow. I set it to 50%. Now the way that they colored the comic was probably way different, and it looked like they used a lot of airbrush, but I like using more of a hard line kind of thing. So I'm just practicing shadows in the way that I would do it on the thing. So all I did is just have it set to 50% and just went in again, thought about the light source, where it's coming in. So coming in from the right front a little bit. So I'm just going through and hitting up those dark areas. But you will see, like I just did with the hair, I switched to white on the same layer because I'm not one to put too much on reflections in my artwork. Um, but I did at the top of the hair and some of the metal pieces, so I would just switch to white and put those in. So then I just move over to cable, and you can see what happens when you set it to 50%. It kind of just darkens the color for you, so you don't have to go in and keep color picking and trying to match what that would be. The 50% just allows it to kind of darken it by itself. So um, I just kind of went in and finished cable, then with the gun, kind of thinking about where the lights were hitting on that was, just more the grooves and indentations, filling those in dark, and then leaving a lot of the upper surface extruded levels out. Um, and then, just filling in the pockets and the gloves and stuff like that. And like I said, I didn't match the colors perfectly because I wanted to just kind of do my own thing and separate it from what the other color artist did. And again, it was just practice for me and doing my style of coloring on there. So I'm just going in thinking about different spots where the light would come in because his arms are kind of folded forward. So, his arms and his chest would kind of block certain areas. And then just go in and put some highlights in on the weapon and, just really making sure I'm shaping the face. So, because it's not a super close up version of these characters, like especially like Rogue in the background here and Sabretooth, Cannonball. They're a little bit farther away, so I don't have to worry too much about going super detailed because they're not the main focus. It's the team as a whole, so you want the eyes to kind of dance around the page a little bit. So some of the areas that I'm darkening are to bring focus to maybe just their face as opposed to the rest of their body. So if you can see how Ramos drew the image, there's not a whole lot of detail like in Sabretooth's clothes. So he's so far in the back, he's got a lot of shadow work going in there. So it actually saves some time. Now for Iceman, I did something different here. I went in and actually picked a darker blue to shade with as opposed, still at 50%, but as opposed to black, because I'm trying to capture is that it is ice. It's not going to be a jet black color, and if I would just went over it with black, it would have just looked weird. It wouldn't have fit. So I'm trying to think of all the places where the light would bounce around in there on the shadow for the ice. And then since he's kind of standing like he just kind of came in on his little ice bridge sliding that he does, I just went down there and just kind of based it, how it would look under his feet. Again, I usually tend to go with what kind of looks cool. It may not be 100% true to life, but that's just going to be your preference. If you're working for Marvel, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be like, hey, you can't do that. Then why don't you fill it in this way or do whatever. So then I just went in with the white, again at 50%, and wanted to get those really icy highlights on there and allow for it again just to read as ice. So you're going to get those glares and reflections on ice. So in the end, it kind of turned out, the way that I was hoping it would do, and really get that ice feeling. And so then I came in and just started adding the shadows on the rock and the stone. Um, just real simple, just still at the black at 50%, just thinking about where the light's hitting, what people are standing over. And then the final thing that I did was just added a little bit of shadow on the smoky outer explosion region of Cannonball, just kind of booming through the air. Put a little bit of shadow in on the hands, but I left the inner area where that's because it's coming from his body. I just added a glow layer and put in the highlight. Other than that, I hope you learned something from this video. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, remember to keep sketching, and I'll see you in the next one. All right? Bye.